To support this podcast, go to positivesarcasm.com/donate. Any amount is appreciated. Once again, positivesarcasm.com/donate. Thank you and enjoy the program. Jay here, positivesarcasm.com, recorded here from the Spare Parts Studio alongside New Hampshire's beautiful seacoast. Like, subscribe, share, donate. Positivesarcasm.com/donate. Any amounts appreciated for entertainment purposes only. Find me on Instagram at +_sarcasm. You can email me directly through my website, positivesarcasm.com. Go to the contact page or email me directly, positivesarcasm@outlook.com. YouTube, Positive Sarcasm. Rumble, Positive Sarcasm. Podcast is downloadable anywhere where audio is available, including my website, downloadable and streamable from my website, positivesarcasm.com. I'm going to get right to it. This might be a short episode, but we're going to talk about this. This is a major announcement. So we will take you through the steps of the timeline. This is breaking as of Tuesday. So, here we go. Locations. The original Spare Parts Studio started it was in a little room back in 2018, and it expanded. The actual official Spare Parts Studio expanded into a full-size room with a back room for all of its inventory, and it was more of a lounge. It was more of like a coffee lounge. It had 5 seats, all big, comfy chairs. It had knickknacks, and it was a coffee story behind it. It was more of just like I was leaning back. There wasn't like a bunch of screens in front of me. There wasn't. It was, and the technology was very low. There wasn't really anything heavy. There was no there was no 9th gen i5s or i7s or 16 gigs of RAM. That just didn't exist. It wasn't a thing. There was a little Toshiba netbook which recorded the audio. There was an Asus little shit notebook that doesn't even exist anymore, and there was something else recording the audio, which was, I think, like a tablet. It was antiquated, but the studio itself was brilliant. It had a lot of room. It had dual microphones, which is awesome. It had a dual microphone setup. It was great, and it was a lot of fun. And some of my best material was basically with no screens in front of me. Now, I did have screens, but ultimately they were far away or they were out of my purview. They were not like right in front of me. They were all moved aside. So you basically just got the video was essentially just me leaning back in a chair with a bunch of cool spare random shit behind me. It was the best version of the studio. The best version. It was the best version of the studio, and it was the best content of the podcast ever. For like an entire year and a half, 2 years. The best stuff. The funniest stuff. And that studio, I miss that studio to this day because there was a lot of light. There was a lot of room to breathe. I'm not in that position right now. And then I moved downstairs to get rid of that place because I was preparing for a big move to have a massive studio down by the seacoast. And I'm just ultimately I'm giving you the full context of why this is such a big deal. But I'm gonna condense it into. It's gonna be this should be a pretty short podcast because there's no other subjects I want to talk about other than this. This is the most important subject of my brain right now. It's the only thing occupying it. And then I moved downstairs and I set up a little spot for myself, not much bigger than what I currently have in front of me. And I had screens in front of me, and ultimately it worked for a while. There was some good topics there, but I only did that for I'd say about 2 months. Tops, 2 months. I did that one. And then I got ready for, finally, I closed on a house in a beautiful town of Northampton, which that house currently that I own to this day sits empty. It's owned by a LLC out of Colorado. That house is empty. I don't know if they're going to make their money back, to be honest with you. And then before I left for Northampton, I filmed an episode called Event Horizon. Event Horizon, an Event Horizon is basically, it is like before you enter a black hole. And obviously when you go into a black hole, the proof of what happens inside of a black hole is unknown. But apparently the gravity forces are pretty intense. So you don't know what happens if you are successfully able to go through a black hole. You don't know what you're going to be like or what you're going to find or what's going to even happen on the other side. It's completely unknown. Nobody has any idea. So that was like a 15-minute episode called Event Horizon. And that's when I went on a hiatus. And I usually do a hiatus either when I'm moving or when it's the end of the year. That's generally when I have a hiatus. Other times it's either I'm not feeling well or something happened, whatever, or I'm on vacation. Or even then, I still get a podcast in. I went away for about, I'd say, a month. And my world had completely fell apart. Where I was expected to be, I was in the process of building the studio. A big 22-foot long studio. And I had to escape that. And I ended up basically, and I went from a full-size studio with seating, comfortable seating for 5, to a little fucking closet, a little corner nook by a window in the middle of a town that I can't stand because I had lost that entire dream. That entire dream failed. So I'm sitting there. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to bring this thing back. So I just get behind a microphone and start. And the next thing I know is I just start sobbing. Because I had lost everything. I didn't even have Chase. Lost him too. And at that point, I didn't know it was going to happen. So I did about, I think, 6 episodes of this very sad stretch of the podcast, and then I stepped away. I stepped away from like early April, and I said the truth, and then I went into legal battle. And when I came out of it, Chase was by my side. I had a renewed vigor. I was amped up and full of aroma joes and ready to fucking go. Sure, I was in that little nook, but the video camera view was different, where it was originally just black and white and just showing like my mouth, and I was wearing sunglasses, and I just didn't know how to express myself, or I didn't even know how to show myself. But now it was full on. I was full of energy. I went 2.5 hours in that first episode. I was still stuck in that shitty town. But I was at, 30 minutes away from where I originally was. But I was back. I had something to say. I had something to fight for, and I had something that belonged to me that was mine again. So the question was, what do I do now? I didn't have a studio. I had a couple desks. Couple desks smashed together. It was actually one corner desk smashed together in this very weird spot. And I had monitors in front of me again, but it was a renewed vigor. That was the cool thing. But I had to get out of there. Eventually, time was up. I had to leave. So I had to figure out what I was going to do next. Availability wasn't possible at the time. Wasn't sure what to do. I ended up settling on a winter rental. A little 700 square foot house in Hampton Beach. I settled on that for 8 months. And I nicknamed it the Sandbox. And I knew it was going to be temporary. But I took advantage of it because it bought me time. It bought me time to settle in and see if I really did truly enjoy the ocean in its truest form, in its rawest form. And it turns out it was beautiful. It was awesome. I loved it. So ultimately the view was incredible. It was an amazing experience the whole time. I didn't want to leave. But the Sandbox studio itself wasn't really much. It was just me and a countertop with an Asus Republic of Gamers laptop, a little tripod with a camera on top, right behind the computer, and then behind me was when I first introduced the bicentennial flag. I think that's what it's called, with the PS logo. And I had, God bless her soul, wonderful human being. I love her to death. If I would have met her in another life, I would have married her. Stephanie Wall. She made this out of wood for me. Painted the whole thing. It was great. I love it. It'll always be part of my studio. So I did that. I had that hanging behind me. So I had a little something. I had a place to sit down, and it was a whole house, ultimately. So the walls could feel my wrath. That was the cool thing. It wasn't a great big setup. It was a simple setup, and it worked. But a great big wrath. 2021, just after COVID, well, still kind of in the middle of it, the Omegatron fucking Autobot variant was out or some shit. I was like, whatever. But I was fighting back, and I was saying stuff. But that came to an end. But that one gave me something. That gave me a little bit of that spice back. But I felt like I was starting to get older. Like, to the point where I didn't know if I had the energy to do this anymore. To the capacity that I wanted to. Sadly, I had to leave. And I made my way here. Into this college town. This is not what I wanted. This is not where I wanted to be for the last few years. And I've sat here patiently, aggressively, trying to figure out when I'm going to move forward. But there's been too many ups and downs. I've moved the podcast from one side of this room to the other side of this room. I have a little spot here that's manageable, but I'm still staring at these fucking screens that are right in front of me. And I tried different variations of where I was going to be more, answering questions and things like that. And I'll probably still do that, but ultimately it was just like I was exhausted. The routine wasn't there. I was doing it after I was trying to go to the gym, or I was at 9. I was doing the punching shit at 9 round, and it didn't have the energy. I was passing out behind the fucking seat here, and it just wasn't working out. I didn't know how to bring this back. It took a long time. It took an entire year to figure out what I was going to go back to and how I was going to tackle this problem. And if I could tackle this problem. So, over the years, this is where I've ended up, and it's been 3 years. 3 years since I stepped foot in this town. 3 years I've sat in this desk. 3 years I've had no room. 3 years I'm not sure if I've been able to do this or make more material. I was, once again, at that point where I didn't feel like I could produce a single goddamn thing of any value. But I can tell you that the return to form is entirely possible. And since the beginning of this year, I have returned to a form that I think is manageable, that is long-term, that is a version of the original Spare Parts Studio, at least in the content form. And putting out weekly reviews. Weekly in review. Which thankfully I can do. Week in review. There we go. But I can tell you, as of Tuesday, I'm officially signed to return to the actual New Hampshire's beautiful seacoast. I'm officially signed for long-term housing. And when I say long-term housing, I don't mean like a studio apartment, with walls where people get mad if I'm yelling. I'm talking about a fucking house. And not just a house anywhere. I was stubborn. I'm like, I do not want to live in these junior varsity towns anymore. I don't want to be amongst these people anymore. I worked so goddamn hard over the last 5 years to get to this point where I am not settling for anything less, as I said before, the smell of the ocean. And I was dead set on 3 towns. 3. And I had a 4th as a backup. But they were all on that side of the highway. And when I'm pointing in that direction. That side of the highway. And by God damn it, I did it. I did it. I fucking did it. I didn't hesitate. As soon as I saw the opportunity, I jumped on it. And I know that if I'm there for a few years, I'm not going backwards. I know this. I believe it. I believe it because it's entirely possible. I know what my money's capable of. I know what I'm capable of. And I can officially tell you that I have a view starting May 1st. I will have a view of the ocean. I'm separated by a marsh. That's it. And it's not in Hampton. I can tell you that. Hampton would have been great. But I'm actually in one of the most expensive tax brackets by New Hampshire's beautiful seacoast. That's what towns, those are the towns I'm fucking with. I aimed so high, I blew past the moon and ended up on Mars. I did it. I fucking did it. And I deserved it. I deserve it. This time I can tell you, I deserve this. This is mine. You can't take this from me. Nobody can take this from me. No one. Not this time. Not this time. I am this. For the next several years, this is going to be my base of operations. This is going to be my home. This is going to be my place to vent, my place to get ideas, my place to have of my own. This studio is going to be a return to form. And it's going to be something a little more updated with a little more class. Now, what kind of studio is it going to be? Well, it's going to be a room unto itself, entirely dedicated to the art form that is the podcast, with art that I truly enjoy from rock bands around the world, with posters of stuff that I want, everything framed, just cool stuff. Now, what am I going to be sitting in? Am I going to be sitting in this grandma chair that I'm currently been? No, I actually don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I want to go back to the lounge form. I want to go back to that lounge form. Because in the original one, I was chilling in a recliner. And Chase would steal the seat half the time. And I had to sit there, and he'd be laying behind me and refuse to move. So I'm going to go ahead and set up a tufted chaise lounge where I can sit back, click play, and just bring the microphone to me. Bring the microphone to me and lean back. Coffee, 5-hour energy, seltzers, tea, whatever it is, whatever the occasion calls for will be at my disposal. I don't give a damn. Now, the setup I think I'm going to like. The setup is going to be an actual, like a tufted chaise lounge. Big, long one. I bought another one previously, but apparently I shouldn't have given it to that fucking bitch. I should have kept it for myself. This one is bigger and poofier and tuftier, and it's white. It's cream white. So it's gonna be nice. And what I'm gonna have is a nice cherry, what they call like a telephone table next to it. So ultimately, it will have a wireless keyboard and mouse with it, and the drinks will be able to sit perfectly on this little end table, or I'll grab another end table and put the drinks on that so I don't have clutter. There will be no clutter. Zero clutter. I can also soundproof the room because I still have the soundproofing material. All the soundproofing squares I still have available to me, and I want to set them up so that I can get as loud as I want. Now, on top of that, how do I want to view the screens? Obviously, I'm going to have a laptop to control most of this stuff. Now, the laptop I'm probably going to run, well, it seems to me that this one that's been running the podcast for the last, I'd say, 3 years is probably going to continue to do the job because it's given me no problems whatsoever. Now, I do have a server. I do have 2 Xeon processor servers that I think are more than capable of bringing this baby home. But may not be needed for this assignment. They may be needed in a different realm, just being servers in general. But the way I want it set up is I want the servers, the podcast computer, other computers, I want it all tied into one big screen TV. Now, in this room, I think a 42-inch would be more than suitable, and I have a 42-inch TV ready to go. Is it 42 or is that 46? No, I don't remember. It's perfect. It's ready to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the chaise lounge there, and I'm going to have all the computers tied in to this one monitor. One big-ass goddamn monitor. And it's going to be far enough away from me so that it's not in my grill. And everything will be controlled wirelessly. And all the computers will be tied in HDMI-wise to this one TV. This one big TV. So everything, all the wiring will be properly zip-tied. All the wires will be stored away, because right now I got wires hanging out all over the place. But I want that all cleaned up, and I want it a nice simplified version so that if I want to change computers, I merely just turn it on and then just change the HDMI connection to either 1, 2, 3, whatever. That's how I want to do it. I want to do it clean. So that is option 1. Option 2 is, now I have multiple options of how to do this podcast. Option 2 is outdoors. I'm going to have that option. I'm going to have the patio edition. The patio edition of this podcast is also going to be basically outdoors with a powerful laptop, either my Asus ROG, which will be plugged in and ready to go, or I'm going to go with another Asus I just got, which is going to be the Q series, which also folds into a tablet. But I'll be using that also with a webcam and set that stuff up outside and literally just podcast right from the patio. Depending upon the day, if it's available, I'll absolutely use it. It's my backyard, my patio. Do whatever the hell I want with it. No interruptions whatsoever. So you'll have the new studio, the official spare parts studio. Excuse me. The official spare parts studio, which will have a chaise lounge, a giant flat screen TV that controls everything with a wireless keyboard and mouse. I have all the software I'll need available to me with my tablet ready to go for doing weekend reviews. It'll be all well organized with all the laptops of mine having their nice little sections so I can just grab it and go. And then I can proceed to head outside, set up shop in literally like 2 or 3 minutes and go from there. But also, because of my distance, option 3. Option 1, the official spare parts studio. Option 2, the patio edition. Option 3, the ocean. And I've tested this before. It was a little difficult because I did not have the materials to make it work, because I was not going to go buy a laptop just so I could record 15 minutes at the ocean. But option 3 is now available to me, I believe. I think I have the option, the laptop that could do the job. We'll wait and see if that's possible. I will do a demo run of that coming up in about a month and a half, where I'll let this thing record for an hour and see if I can get enough juice out of it to do the job. Because it's going to have to record in 1080 at 30 frames per second. If it can do that, then we're good to go. That being said, the ocean version of this podcast is basically me on the rocks with a webcam and a laptop, overlooking, basically sitting on New Hampshire's beautiful seacoast, which is within walking distance of my house. How incredible is that? They say it couldn't be done. And 3 years later, after losing all of it, and then gaining it back for a short term, 3 years later, I'm going back. And I'm going back so fucking hard. So hard. To the very spot where A cottage, a little cottage, just went on for sale for over $700,000. And I'm down the street from it. Down the street from it. You don't just get into this area. And I'm there. The paperwork is signed 100%. There's no going back on it, and I'm not going back on it. There's nothing that can stop it. It's an amazing thing. So the timeline is basically that by late April, I'm going to do another episode, probably of Event Horizon, only 2.0, because I think it's only fitting that I call it that. And then close up shop after that, the last week in April. Close up shop, pack everything away. By May 1st, move everything in aggressively. I have a vlog idea I want to shoot, a concept, something to kind of mark my accomplishment. Shoot that, put that together. And then also record a teaser for the new Seacoast version of this studio. Once that's done, announce that my hiatus is over and return with a new episode. So I'd say close up shop by late April. And by, I'd say, no later than mid-May, be back at it. And just let it fly. And just see how I feel. And see how much energy I have. Because down there, time is more available. There's more availability for what I can do. This is the cool thing. That's the cool thing. Now, lost my train of thought here. Yeah, the availability of what I can do is going to be great. What else could I be doing in the meantime? Well, obviously, the teaser, a new vlog. If a blog pops up, great. But I tell you this, people have been... This is what I noticed. People have been so hung up on I can't afford this, credit card bills, politics, foreign affairs. People are just so tied up in the bullshit. Where I'm just digging that hole. Digging that hole. All I did was, this is what I wanted. I'm going to get it. I wanted a Mustang. I got it. I wanted a studio. I made do. I wanted new laptops. I got them. I didn't have to pay for them either. I want things. I work hard, and I get things. I have accomplished so much this year, in the last year, and I am so thankful that I'm able to merely observe what's going on, but still focus on the objectives that I need to get done. Everybody's freaking about. Car prices are too high. Home prices are too high. Eggs are too expensive. Politics is crazy. This, that, and the other thing. And it's like, you folks are not paying attention. You're not paying attention. There are deals to be made. There's opportunities to be had. There are places to go. And there's shit to do. You're not paying attention. You're too wrapped up in your Spotifys and in your Netflix and your Hulu Pluses and your fucking TikToks and your Instagrams and your Twitter account. You're not paying attention to actually what's going on. The opportunity for you to get shit done and make dreams come true is right in front of you. The American dream is real. I don't care how many people say the American dream is harder to get. The American dream has always been hard to get. But all you got to do is focus on it and you get it. That's it. That's the whole point of the American dream. You dream it. You remember a few things. You write it down. You dream about it again. And you continue this cycle of writing these things down to the point where it's like, oh, this all makes sense. I want this, 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 and this out of that dream. Cool. How are you going to get it? By understanding that it's going to be hard. If you understand that it's going to be hard, you realize you have to work hard to get it. And I sat here for 3 years. 3 years. With minimal income. trying to make this dream come back. And so help me God, when the opportunity was available, I struck with full force and full venom. And I did not let go. I didn't want to announce it until it was 100% in writing. I didn't want to do that. I didn't, because I knew I'd be setting myself up for disappointment. Now the disappointment, the possibilities of disappointment, they're down to a minimum. Because nobody can take this from me. This is in my name. This opportunity for the next several years is in my name. I will do everything I can to keep it going for as many years as possible. I can guarantee you that. But I'm not leaving the seacoast. You'd have to melt it into the fucking ocean to drag me away from it. And I said I said that like probably 5 episodes ago. I'm not leaving until I smell the ocean. That's where I land. That's where I intend on being. And that's beyond my actual results were beyond my expectations. I had some good options. This 100% was one I didn't expect. Didn't think I would get. But either way, I went full force into it. And I made it happen. Folks, it's a studio. It's all for me. And I have many other opportunities to take that and transform it into something great. All I asked for was a little peace. A little spot to call my own. And a place to go outside and breathe. And by God, I did it. It's going to be an amazing year. It's already been an amazing year. I cannot wait to see what more I can accomplish. I just decided I was going to change the way I was going to do things this year. And on this podcast. And the optimism and the opportunity and the hard work has paid off. But you just got to get that mindset that I can't do this. Shit's too expensive. It's not happening. I'm afraid that we're going to lose our jobs and the AI is going to take over and make us all fucking useless and slaves to the government. Yeah, maybe. Maybe. But you have to wake up and go through your day assuming that things are going to be okay. That the Russians aren't going to nuke us. That you are going to have a paycheck next week. That you are going to have a job tomorrow. That you're going to have a bed to go home to. That you're going to have warmth there waiting for you. You have to assume that if you woke up with these things, they're going to be there again tomorrow. I know they could all be taken away, but you can't live every day being in fear of these things being taken away. You have to strive. You have to work hard. And you have to be patient sometimes. It was 3 years for me. I don't know how long it's going to be for you, especially if you're behind bars. But the American dream is possible. Sometimes it just doesn't seem very clear because there's a lot of minutia and bullshit that's just being posted in front of it. But that's not the case. But it's there. It's there. It's real. It can be had. And I know because I'm proving it. I'm proving it. I shoot my mouth off every fucking week. Hasn't cost me a dime. Hasn't cost me a dime. I promise I'm giving you everything. Because I'm giving my all, I am getting all in return. This is going to be fun. It's going to be fun. I have a couple ideas in my head, but ultimately the studio is going to consist. It's going to be Shay's Lounge. It's going to be a lot more relaxed setting like the original studio. It's all going to be set up through one point of interest or one point with the TV, and everything's going to run into that TV. And it's going to be super simple. Super simplified, but classy at the same time. I'm excited. I'm pumped. This music's pumping, dog. I'm ready. Let's fucking go. You can find me on Instagram at @positive_sarcasm. Find me anywhere where podcasts are available. Email me directly, positivesarcasm@outlook.com. Oh, man, I hope you can hear this music that's pumping behind me. But we're good. I just wanted to get that out of the way. Daddy's going home. Daddy's going home. And I cannot wait to unveil the new studio, which will be simple, but it'll be good. And I'm going to enjoy it. And I'm going to have the energy and the time to make it worth my while. So, we'll talk more next week. But for now, I just wanted to let you know that from the very beginning, the first idea of the Spare Parts Studio, which was 7 years ago, is coming back. And I'm not calling this the Sandbox. This is going to be just the official Oceanside Spare Parts Studio. Coming your way in 45 days. Give or take a week or two. Thank you for listening, watching, and subscribing. Daddy's going home. Recorded here in the Spare Parts Studio. A little farther away from New Hampshire's beautiful seacoast, but sure to be alongside of it very, very shortly. For entertainment purposes only, this has been a Positive Sarcasm presentation.